The camcorder hums quietly. It's small, discreet. Built into the molding of the ceiling, one of 7. A system designed to be invisible, watchful, quiet, like him. Danvers Whitmore stands alone in the control room. Lights low. The monitors glow like altar candles. He watches. He listens. He waits for something to change or to confirm that nothing ever will. On the central screen, the nursery glows in pale morning light. 2 identical cribs, 2 motionless children, Oscar and Oliver. His sons, 4 years old, paralyzed, non-verbal, asleep or pretending to be. It's always hard to tell. One of them twitches a finger, just slightly. Danvers leans forward. His knuckles press into the desk. His breath hitches, like it used to in hospital waiting rooms when they'd wheel his wife through double doors and wouldn't let him follow. But the boy's hand falls still again. Silence returns. The kind that chokes. The kind that builds walls inside the chest. He exhales slowly. The moment passes. The footage loops. Once upon a time, this house was filled with music. A woman's humming, a boy's babble, the bubbling laughter of a man who hadn't yet buried his soul beneath steel and marble. But now, the house breathes in silence. It hums with tech, systems, sanitized control. The rooms are immaculate. Nothing is touched unless absolutely necessary. The children have round-the-clock nurses, therapists on retainer, occupational specialists, robotic feeders, mechanical bath systems. AI, monitoring. Everything but warmth. Everything but her. Her name is Lucy Davies. She arrives on a Tuesday morning, not through the main gate, but through the servants' entrance. Not wearing white scrubs or pressed uniforms, but a plain blue dress and an old coat too big for her frame. Danvers watches her from the monitor, a suitcase in one hand, a notebook clutched to her chest. She looks up at the front of the house and does not flinch. He narrows his eyes. The agency had recommended her after 5 others quit. They'd called her non-traditional. No formal training, just an uncanny track record with children no one could reach. He hadn't wanted another stranger, but he wanted peace, so he agreed. She has shown her quarters. She is told the rules. She does not respond much, just nods. Quietly, but before sunset, she enters the twins' room, and she does not ask permission. The first thing she does is sit, not to clean, not to organize, not to assess. She sits on the floor between the cribs and sings, not loud, not even fully formed, just a gentle tune, barely above breath. Oscar shifts, his eyelid flickers. Oliver lets out a tiny hum, almost involuntary, almost a response. Danvers sits straighter in his chair. The camcorder zooms automatically. Lucy does not touch them. She does not call to them. She simply breathes, slowly, softly, humming her unknown lullaby like a breeze through broken leaves. Then she opens her notebook. She begins to write. That night, Danvers watches the replay 3 times. He does not sleep. The house creaks. The systems blink. The wind rattles faintly outside, but it does not enter here. Nothing enters here unless he allows it. He pulls up her profile again. There's barely anything there. Widowed. No children. No nursing degree. Just testimonials written by hand from other wealthy families. Other homes broken by grief, by trauma, by conditions specialists had no name for. She stayed, even when we told her it was hopeless. She didn't teach. She listened. The only time my daughter ever spoke was when Lucy touched her hand. Danvers frowns, then clicks play again. Morning comes like a whisper. Lucy opens the curtains in the twins' room. Not all the way, just enough to let the light settle like a soft hand on the carpet. Then she opens the window. Danvers nearly chokes on his coffee when he sees it. No open windows, he mutters aloud instinctively. The air is controlled, filtered, monitored, but the window is open, and she's placing something on the sill. A bowl of water, a feather, a pebble. What is she doing? Then she begins again, humming. Different tune today, slower, sounds like something ancient, something forgotten. The twins don't move, but their eyes follow her now. She doesn't rush. She never speaks unless needed. She touches gently the edge of a blanket, the corner of a crib, a toy untouched for months. She never forces sound, never breaks the silence. She enters it like it's holy. Danvers watches, and something inside his ribcage, stirs. That night, Lucy doesn't go to bed immediately. She sits in the living room. A fire is unlit in the hearth. She opens her notebook again, writes by candlelight. Danvers switches the camera to infrared. The notebook's cover is worn. The pages are thick. His monitors cannot read the ink. He feels frustrated, excluded. He watches her lips move silently as she rereads what she wrote. Then she closes the notebook, places it on her lap, and she prays. Not out loud, not performative, just still. Danvers stares. The candle flickers. A light rain begins outside. The house breathes. The next morning, Oscar's hand moves again. Not just a twitch, a curl of fingers around a toy. It falls, but Lucy notices. She does not praise. She does not gasp. She smiles and whispers, "Thank you," as if he gave her a gift. Danvers replays it 27 times. He zooms in, slows it, freezes it. No stimulus, no machine, no cue. Just her, and a boy who hasn't moved in years. Danvers leaves his coffee untouched. He doesn't tell the doctors. That afternoon, Lucy carries both twins to the sunroom. They've never been taken out of their controlled nursery. She wraps them in blankets, holds one in each arm, sits on the wide bench where sunlight pours through glass like grace. And for the first time since their mother died, someone laughs. Not a full laugh, not even from the boys. But Lucy, a tiny laugh escapes her lips, like it surprised even her. And in that moment, the camcorder catches something impossible. Oscar blinks, deliberately, slowly, once, then closes his eyes and rests his cheek against her chest. Oliver's fingers twitch and land lightly on her wrist, and Danvers Whitmore presses a hand to his mouth. He doesn't move. His eyes sting. He whispers something he hasn't said in 2 years. Sarah would have liked her, and the house, for the first time in years, doesn't feel cold. There's something about the way she moves. Not quickly, not slowly, just present. Lucy steps into the nursery each morning like it's sacred ground. No clipboard, no gloves, no noise. She doesn't check vitals or adjust machines unless needed. She kneels, always, at eye level, sometimes in silence, sometimes with a hum, never with pity. Danvers watches from the control room again, same as yesterday, same as the day before. He tells himself it's for documentation. But he doesn't believe that anymore. He rewinds the footage from 4:17 a.m. There, the moment Oliver's eyelids fluttered while she whispered a lullaby. A movement so small it could have been nothing. But Danvers replays it 6 times. It wasn't nothing. By day 4, Lucy knows which songs to sing for which twin. Oscar prefers the low ones, hum-like, almost a drone. Oliver responds more to rhythm, a soft finger tap on the blanket, in time. She never says their names out loud at first. She lets the room say it. The mobile above the crib, the hand-stitched quilt with O+O at the corner, the medical reports folded on the side table. Names are power and pain. She touches them gently, but when she finally does speak, it's to one child, one syllable. "Oliver," she says, voice like breath through folded hands, and he blinks. Once, then again. Danvers exhales sharply in the monitor room. His throat tightens. In the kitchen, the head nurse glares. She doesn't use gloves, she whispers to the cook. She doesn't follow the logbook. She also hasn't missed a single shift, the cook replies. She carries them, the nurse says. We're not allowed to do that anymore. She doesn't carry them to move them. She carries them to hold them. Silence. And then, they're responding to her. The cook nods. She's different. Danvers reads the household logs at night. Everything is noted: sleep times, medication, food. Lucy's entries are handwritten. Loopy, simple. Tuesday 9:02 a.m. Oscar blinked in rhythm to my tapping. Wednesday 1:12 p.m. Oliver curled his hand around mine. Warm, slight pressure. Thursday 3:30 p.m. Both twins turned heads toward the sunlight. Stayed that way for 2 minutes. That's all. No analysis. No interpretation, just noticing. She notices everything. There's a moment at dusk. Rain falls gently. The house is quiet. Danvers stands at the top of the stairs, unseen. Lucy is below, kneeling between the cribs again. She whispers something. Not words, just sounds. The boys are still. Then she sings. This time, it's a lullaby Danvers hasn't heard in years. His late wife's lullaby. Where did she learn that? He whispers. His knuckles tighten on the rail. The twins blink slowly. Relax into stillness. Lucy smiles. She has not seen him. But Danvers feels, deeply, like she has. She doesn't go to church, but she keeps Sabbath. Danvers checks the security footage Saturday morning. Lucy is up before the sun. She places a small wooden bowl near the nursery window, fills it with water, adds a folded cloth. She kneels, hands still. She doesn't speak. She waits. Oscar blinks once. Oliver blinks back. She smiles, then sings a lullaby that sounds like a hymn. In the master bedroom, Danvers opens a drawer he hasn't touched in a year. Inside, a notebook. His wife's. Leather-bound, frayed edge, tied with a ribbon. He hesitates. Then opens it. The handwriting is nearly identical to Lucy's. No, not identical, just similar. The rhythm, the way words trail off at the end. He finds a passage. If I don't make it, tell them, don't let the silence raise them. Let someone sing. Danvers closes the book. Something splits, quietly, in his chest. Lucy begins bringing them books. Not big ones, not flashy ones. Simple paperbacks, worn. She doesn't read aloud. She opens them near the boys, turns the pages slowly, letting them see the rhythm of a page turning, letting them hear the soft scratch of finger on paper. Danvers notices Oscar blinks every third page. Oliver tilts his head. She never points it out, just keeps reading. Danvers finds himself moving closer to the monitor each time. One night, she finds the old rocking chair in the attic. She wipes the dust off herself, brings it down to the nursery. Danvers panics for a second. That chair was his wife's. But she places it near the window, gently. She doesn't sit yet. She places Oliver in her lap, wraps a blanket around him, hums, rocks. The camcorder audio picks up the creak of the chair, and something else. A sound, a breathy, faint, almost inaudible sound from Oliver. Danvers freezes. Is it a giggle? No, not quite. But it's something. Lucy begins writing at night again. Danvers can't stop watching. She never looks at the cameras, never speaks of progress. She writes and prays. Sometimes she leaves the notebook open beside her bed. Danvers zooms in. The page reads, "The house is grieving. The children speak without words. They are not broken. They are waiting. So I wait too." On the 7th day, she finally speaks to Danvers. It's morning. She finds him in the hallway. She doesn't ask for permission, doesn't smile, just says, "Oscar blinked once for yes, twice for no." He stares. She continues, "I asked if he wanted the light left on. He blinked once." Silence. Then she says softly, "Your wife used to hum in that room. I don't know how I know that, but I do." Danvers swallows hard. His voice is rusty. "I used to watch her from the door, same way I watch you now." Lucy tilts her head. "Did you ever go inside?" Danvers can't answer. She nods, like she already knew, and walks past. That night, the monitors flicker, not because of power, because Danvers has turned them off, just for a moment. He walks down the hallway, slowly, stands in front of the nursery door. The humming is soft. He listens. He doesn't open the door yet, but for the first time in 2 years, he places his hand on it, and stays. The door is still closed. Danvers stands outside the nursery for the 4th day in a row, hand resting on the knob, not turning it. Inside, he hears it again. That sound, not the lullaby though, that's there too, floating soft and familiar like steam off warm milk. No, it's the sound of breath, his son's breath, audible, alive, not filtered through machines, not monitored by software, but full, present, unafraid. He doesn't open the door. He listens and walks away. Later that day, Lucy doesn't sing. She brings a basin of warm water instead, places it on the small oak table between the cribs. She lights a small candle. Just one. It flickers softly in the shadow of late morning light. Danvers, watching from the study monitor, leans forward. His coffee is cold. He hasn't noticed. She takes a folded cloth from the basin, wrings it gently, and begins wiping Oliver's hands. Not to sanitize, not to clean, just to feel, to remind. Oliver's eyes track her. Oscar follows the movement. They blink in near unison now. Lucy hums low, like the rhythm of a heartbeat. Then she speaks. Your hands are still yours. The twins do not move. But Danvers sees it. The tiniest twitch of Oscar's thumb. Later, she sits between them with her notebook. Doesn't write today, just opens it. Lets them look. There are no drawings, no symbols, just words. And the children stare, as if they understand. Danvers doesn't understand it, but he watches anyway. That evening, the household staff gathers briefly in the kitchen. She's doing things none of us were allowed to do, the nurse says again. There are protocols. She's not breaking them, the cook replies. She's rewriting them. The gardener, silent all week, finally speaks. You know what's different, he says. The house used to feel cold, dead. Now it feels like it's listening again. No one argues. Rain falls at dusk. Not hard, just steady. Lucy doesn't close the nursery windows fully. She leaves them cracked just enough for the sound of rain to drift in. And then, something new happens. Oscar blinks once, then turns his head toward the sound. Deliberately, Danvers nearly stands from his desk. The movement is slow, fragile, but real. Then Oliver mimics it. Lucy places a small wind chime near the sill. Wooden shell, it barely moves. But when it does, it whispers, and Danvers watches, in silence, as his sons begin to breathe deeper. The next morning, Lucy finds a white envelope outside her door. No note, just the words, "You may take them to the garden. Supervised, 20 minutes. Danvers didn't sign it, but she knows it's from him. She smiles faint, surprised, and tucks the envelope inside her notebook. She wheels them out slowly, the old double stroller creaking slightly under the weight of years. Oscar on the left, Oliver on the right. The path winds through manicured hedges. No one has used it in months. She takes them past the fountain, past the rose beds, past the bronze statue of a bird with outstretched wings. Then she stops beneath the fig tree. She sits in the grass, unfolds a small blanket, places one child on either side of her, and waits. The camera drone, dispatched quietly by Danvers, floats overhead, capturing from a safe angle. He watches from the control tablet. Breath held. Lucy takes off her shoes, lets her toes touch earth. Then, gently, she places the boy's hands on the grass. Not pushing, just letting. At first, nothing. Then Oliver blinks. Twice. Oscar's fingers curl into the dirt. And then, they breathe. Mouths open slightly. No words. But a soft sound escapes both. A coo. Danvers gasps. Then grips the table so tightly the tablet trembles. That night, he walks past her door, hesitates. He lifts his hand to knock. Doesn't. Just listens. Inside, she's humming again. He recognizes it. The tune from their wedding day. He doesn't know how she knows it. He walks away before the lump in his throat grows too large to swallow. The next day, she begins a new ritual. She holds their hands, one at a time, gently, firmly, fully. Oscar first. She clasps his hand and holds it to her chest. You're not alone, she says. Then Oliver. You were never alone. Danvers rewinds that moment 11 times. Not to watch the boys, to watch her, her face. She believes what she says, completely. That evening, Oscar blinks 3 times. Lucy freezes. She kneels beside him, smiles. 3 times, she says. That's new. Oscar blinks again, then turns his head toward Oliver. Lucy's breath catches. Then she whispers, Do you want to say something? Oscar blinks once. Oliver blinks back. Danvers stares at the monitor, eyes wide. They're communicating, not in language, but in intention. That night the house is still, too still. Danvers doesn't go to the control room. He walks the hall instead, barefoot, silent. When he reaches the nursery, the door is cracked open. Inside, Lucy is asleep in the rocker, the twins in their cribs, the candle still flickering. And on the floor her notebook. He bends slowly, picks it up, hesitates, then opens it. Tonight's entry reads, There was movement, but more than that, there was trust. Oscar blinked first, then Oliver. They are finding each other. They are remembering what it means to reach. Healing is not always loud. Sometimes it's just two brothers remembering they were born holding hands. Danvers sets the notebook down gently, then steps back into the hallway and breathes. The first touch was unintentional. The second was not. It's mid-morning. The light through the nursery window falls soft and slanted. Outside, the rain has stopped, but the grass still holds the weight of memory. The air is quiet, expectant. Lucy sits between the boys again. Oscar is blinking slowly, still waking. But Oliver's eyes are sharp today, clearer. Danvers watches closely, heart tight. Then, it happens. Oliver shifts. His arm, so long forgotten by motion, twitches. Then again. Then slowly begins to rise. Lucy doesn't speak, doesn't react. She only leans closer, and Oliver's hand finds hers. Tiny fingers, weak but deliberate. He wraps them around her thumb. Danvers stands up. Can't sit anymore. Something in his chest thuds so loudly he fears the camera audio might pick it up. He stares at the screen, both hands pressed to the table, as if steadying a world that's beginning to tilt. Lucy says nothing. She doesn't startle. She simply closes her other hand gently around Oliver's like cradling a prayer. Then she whispers, "Thank you." And that's it. No fanfare, no celebration, just reverence. Danvers watches as Oliver holds on. For 15 full seconds, then releases. But the look in his eyes stays. A new light, a flicker of recognition, a memory of touch. Later that day, Danvers does something no one expects. He walks into the nursery. For the first time in almost 2 years, he knocks once, then pushes the door gently. Lucy looks up from the rocking chair. The twins are in her arms, one on each side, wrapped in the same blanket. Danvers freezes. He had prepared words, statements, questions, but none come. Just this feeling, this image, the woman in the center. The boys resting on her shoulders like they belong there. His sons. His wife used to sit like this. He clears his throat. Still can't speak. Lucy doesn't move, doesn't stand, but she offers him something he doesn't expect: space. There is no defense in her posture, no challenge, no apology, only welcome. Danvers takes a slow step forward. His feet feel heavier than they should, the room smaller. He glances at Oscar. Oscar blinks. Once, then again. He swallows. They're different, he says at last. Lucy nods. They're remembering. Danvers's voice catches. I didn't know if they still could. They never forgot, Lucy says softly. They just stopped being asked. He looks at her notebook, open on the floor beside her. Then, his voice low. You write every day. She nods again. I don't know what else to do with what I feel. Danvers steps closer. The boys don't flinch. That surprises him. He sits on the edge of the bench by the window. For a long moment, no one says anything. Just the wind in the trees outside. Just the steady breath of two small boys on a single heartbeat. Danvers leans forward slightly. I think I gave up. Lucy turns to him. Gently, he continues. After Sarah died, I thought the only thing I could control was what didn't happen, so I locked down everything. Made it safe. Made it silent. He swallows. But it wasn't safe, just empty. Lucy says nothing. She only listens. And the house, somehow, breathes with them. The next day, Danvers surprises the staff again. He asks for the garden bench to be cleaned. Personally, he walks the path himself, wipes the dust, straightens the cushion. Then he sits and waits. Lucy brings the twins out an hour later. She pauses when she sees him. Danvers clears his throat. I thought maybe they'd like to see the tree again. Lucy smiles, says nothing. She lays a blanket down, places the boys beside each other. Danvers watches them closely. Oscar's eyes follow the birds. Oliver's fingers twitch in the grass. And then, unexpectedly, Oscar turns his face toward Danvers. A blink, then another, then 3. Danvers doesn't know what it means, but it feels like a conversation. Lucy watches quietly. Then she says, He recognizes you. Danvers blinks rapidly, caught off guard. No, he says. He couldn't. But then Oscar's hand twitches again, toward him. Not far, but unmistakably in his direction. Lucy leans toward Danvers. Try. Danvers's heart pounds. He reaches forward, hesitates. Then slowly, he extends a finger. Oscar doesn't grab it, but his pinky curls and touches Danvers's, and something breaks open in Danvers's chest. Grief. Years of it. Tears rise without warning, and he doesn't stop them. Not today. That night, the camcorders stay on, but Danvers doesn't watch from the study. He sits in the nursery. The boys are asleep. Lucy is by the window, writing. Danvers leans back in the rocking chair, a book in his lap. A cup of tea he didn't pour for himself. He speaks quietly, not looking up. I didn't think I could be in this room again. Lucy's voice is calm. Why now? He thinks. Then answers, because today I felt them. A pause. He continues, and I saw what I was missing. He looks up at her. You didn't teach them to move. You taught them it was safe to. Lucy nods. They always had the map. They just needed someone to walk it with. Danvers's breath shakes. He looks at her notebook again. May I? She nods. Hands it to him. He opens it slowly. The newest entry reads, Today, Oliver reached for me. Then Oscar reached for his father. Hands can carry grief, but they can also carry home. Today, for the first time, this house felt like it remembered how to hold its children. Danvers closes the book, clutches it for a moment longer than necessary, then whispers, Thank you. Lucy smiles faintly. I didn't do it alone. The next morning, the entire staff notices it. The light in the hallway feels warmer. The door to the nursery is wide open, and Danvers Whitmore, the man of marble, walks the hallway, holding 2 small plush blankets under his arm. One blue, one grey. He's humming, just slightly, off-key, but alive. There are no alarms, no dramatic music, no breaking news, just the soft, nearly imperceptible sound of breath, and then a word, not from the staff, not from Lucy, from Oliver. He says it in the quietest possible way, not with clarity, not even fully formed, just a small, breathy syllable that slips past his lips like the last note of a fading song. A. Lucy freezes. Her eyes widen, but not with panic, with reverence. She doesn't move. Oscar blinks twice beside her, as if he too has heard something sacred. Oliver blinks once, then again. Lucy leans in. Did you say something, sweetheart? Silence. Then the whisper again. Ma. Not quite, Mama, but close. So close it silences the whole house. Danvers is in the study when it happens. He's not watching the monitors. He's holding the notebook, her notebook, and reading the latest entry under the light of the morning sun. He hears his name faintly shouted down the hallway. Then the nurse bursts in, breathless. Sir, you need to come. Now. Danvers rises. Everything inside him goes cold and hot at once. He doesn't run, but his steps are fast. Faster than he's moved in years. Down the hall, past the portraits, past the mirror that hasn't shown joy in this house for a long, long time. He reaches the nursery and hears it again. That sound. Ma. Oliver's mouth is barely moving, but he's trying. Lucy is kneeling beside him, one hand over her heart. Oscar is blinking rapidly now, excited or maybe afraid of what comes next. Danvers steps inside. He doesn't ask permission. He kneels too. His knees ache, his hands tremble, but he leans close. Oliver. His voice cracks. The boy's eyes flick toward him. And Danvers, he sees it. That flicker. That knowing. Oliver blinks once, then twice, then opens his mouth. Ma. This time it's clearer. Not to him. To her. Lucy. Danvers turns slowly. Lucy hasn't moved. She's crying, but not loudly. Tears stream down her face, not from pain but from the holy kind of shock, the kind that confirms the impossible. Danvers breathes in sharply, then turns back to Oliver. Is that what you're trying to say? He whispers. Mama? Oliver closes his eyes, then nods, a tiny, shaky nod. Oscar blinks 3 times, a rhythm they've come to recognize, and then Oscar opens his mouth. No sound comes, but his lips shape it. Mama. Danvers sways, like the floor beneath him shifted. He steadies himself on the side of the crib, and Lucy, she brings her hand to her chest, whispers, I'm here. The news spreads silently through the household. No one yells. No one cheers. But every door is opened just a little wider. Every face carries something different: hope, awe, fear of breaking it. The twins spoke. They didn't speak to a doctor, not to a therapist, not to the father who poured millions into machines, but to her, to Lucy. They called her Mama. Later that evening, Danvers sits alone in the sunroom. He hasn't spoken since. He holds a glass of untouched water in one hand. In the other, his wife's journal. He flips to the very last page. A letter. To him. Danvers, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Please don't bury yourself in silence like I did before I met you. Don't let the boys grow up in a world without singing. I know they're different. But different doesn't mean doomed. It just means we have to love harder. And if someone comes who sings to them like I would, let her in. He drops the journal. It thuds softly on the couch cushion. Danvers covers his eyes and lets himself sob. That night, he walks to the nursery. No hesitation now. The boys are asleep. Lucy is sitting between them, her eyes closed, hand lightly resting on Oscar's blanket. Danvers doesn't say anything. He just kneels beside her, not watching her, just being with her. After a long silence, he whispers, "They said, Mama." Lucy opens her eyes slowly, looks at him. "They chose you." She nods. Danvers' throat tightens. "I tried so hard to fix them with things, technology, routine, experts. But they didn't need fixing. They needed—" He can't finish. Lucy does. They needed someone who didn't need them to be anything other than who they are. Danvers nods. Tears again. He doesn't hide them now. "I was scared," he admits. "So was I," she replies. "Still am." He looks at her. Then, quietly, "Do you think they understand what it means?" Lucy looks at the twins, then at Danvers. "I think they felt what it meant before they ever said it." Morning comes with birdsong. Real birds, perched on the windowsills. The house is quieter than usual, but not with emptiness. With presence. Lucy walks the boys out to the garden again. This time, they are not wheeled. They are carried, one by one. Oscar in her arms. Oliver in Danvers's. A nurse walks behind, just in case, but no one intervenes. Danvers lowers himself slowly onto the bench, places Oliver in his lap. Oscar reaches a hand, trembles, then touches Oliver's. Not just contact, connection. Lucy kneels in front of them. "Boys," she whispers, "do you remember this tree?" They blink. Then, unexpectedly, Oliver raises his hand toward the sky and says it again. "Mama," but this time, louder, clear. Oscar smiles and for the first time, laughs. A small giggle, rasped, fragile, but unmistakably joy. Danvers clutches his chest. He whispers, "Sarah, they're okay." Lucy looks up at him. "You okay?" she asks. He nods. For the first time in years, he means it. There's a change in the way the house sounds now. It isn't louder, but the silence is no longer heavy. It breathes. It hums in low, sacred rhythms, the creak of the rocker, the click of Lucy's pen, the wind chimes by the window. Even the security system chimes differently, not sharp, not sterile, softer, as if the house itself has begun to trust again. And in the nursery, the boys are waiting. They wake earlier now, blink toward the door before Lucy even steps in. Danvers knows this because he watches, not obsessively, not as surveillance, but as witness. Every morning now begins with the same sequence. Lucy enters the nursery. No rush. Oscar is already blinking. 1, 1, 1. Danvers wrote it down. That's their new yes. Oliver watches her quietly. He doesn't try to speak again. Not yet. But his eyes follow everything. The rise of her chest, the shift in her hands, the smile at the corner of her mouth when she sings off key. Lucy kneels between them, places her notebook in the center, opens it wide, lets them see the page. She doesn't read out loud. She lets the boys read her silence. Danvers now keeps a notebook too. Not as polished, not beautiful. A plain leather book, blank at first. Then one morning, after hearing Oliver whisper, "Mama," again in the garden, he writes, "Day 142 of Lucy's arrival." Oliver said it again. Twice. No prompting. Oscar laughed. First time in their lives. "I almost fell apart right there under the fig tree." He stares at the ink, then adds, I think I've been grieving their childhood before it ever began, and now I see, maybe it never stopped. Maybe I just stepped out of it. The staff have started changing too. The cook hums again while prepping breakfast. The old gardener replaced the dying lilies with lavender because the boys react to scent. The night nurse, who once said she'd leave by month's end, now volunteers extra shifts. Something unspoken anchors everyone here now. And it's not Danvers. It's not even the twins. It's Lucy. She never asks for anything. But one day, Danvers finds her sitting by the hallway bookshelf, her lap full of children's books. She looks up, not surprised. "I wanted to see which ones might sing," she says. Danvers tilts his head. "Books sing?" She smiles. "The right ones do." He watches her trace the spine of the very quiet caterpillar. Then she whispers, "This one reminds me of Oliver." Danvers takes the book, opens it. Inside, on the title page, someone long ago wrote in blue ink, "For the child who speaks in colors before he speaks in words." Danvers blinks hard. Lucy closes her notebook. That night, Lucy places both boys in the rocker with her, one on each side. Oscar's hand drapes over Oliver's shoulder. Their heads lean gently toward each other. Danvers watches from the nursery doorway, unseen. Lucy sings again, but this time, it's different. Not lullabies, not hymns. A song of her own, unfinished, wordless, just feeling. The twins blink to the rhythm. Then, astonishingly, Oliver hums. Not a word, but a hum, in tune. Danvers covers his mouth. His breath trembles. Tears rise again and again. He does not stop them. Lucy writes that night. Notebook open beside her teacup. Her entry reads, "The house echoes now, not with ghosts, not with grief, but with hope." Oliver hummed. Oscar smiled. They do not need language to speak. They are fluent in presence. We are all becoming fluent in presence. She leaves the notebook open. Danvers passes by the room later, sees it, reads it. He writes nothing that night, just rests his hand on the spine of the notebook and stays a little longer in the doorway. The next day, Danvers does something unheard of. He opens the main gate himself. The delivery man jumps. "Sir Whitmore?" "In person?" Danvers only smiles faintly, signs the receipt, accepts the package. Inside, a custom-made sensory playmat. Textured, soft, fragrant threads woven through, colors that react gently to touch and light. He places it in the nursery himself. Lucy notices, says nothing, just lays it near the window and lets the boys crawl across it slowly. Danvers watches them from the hallway, holding the empty box, hands trembling, mouth smiling. That evening, Lucy does not write. She paints. She hasn't done it in years. She finds an old canvas, a jar of dull acrylics, a forgotten brush in the cleaning cupboard. She sits on the floor by the open window and paints what she sees. Not the children, not the house, but the feeling, a soft grey background, blurred blues, a faint gold streak running diagonally through it all. Danvers sees it the next morning. "You paint?" Lucy shrugs. "Sometimes." He stands beside the canvas, tilts his head. "What is this one called?" She replies quietly, "The sound of them breathing." Danvers closes his eyes, and the tears come again. He adds a line to his notebook that night. "I used to listen for the sound of crying to know if I was needed. Now I listen for breathing to know that they're healing." The breakthrough no one expected comes on a Sunday. Rain outside, stronger than usual, windy. Lucy places a heavy blanket over the window ledge to soften the noise. The twins are restless, not upset, just alert. They keep blinking at the door. Lucy notices. "You're waiting," she whispers, "for someone." She turns, and there he is, Danvers, in the doorway. He's holding something. Her notebook. He walks slowly into the room, kneels down beside the boys, opens the notebook to a blank page. Then, carefully, deliberately, places it between them, and then he takes their hands and places one finger each into the inkwell on the nearby table. Oscar's, then Oliver's, then helps them press tiny fingerprints onto the page. 4 blots, 2 brothers, 1 page. Lucy watches, hand pressed to her chest. Danvers speaks, voice shaking. "Your first word was, 'Mama,' but you've been saying we're still here for a long time." Oscar blinks once. Oliver hums, and outside, as if the house knows, the rain begins to fade. The fig tree is blooming again. No one expected it. For 3 years, it bore nothing. The gardener almost removed it twice. But today, on a quiet Thursday morning, Lucy notices 3 new buds, small, green, reaching toward the sun. She kneels beside the tree, brushes her fingers gently over the bark. Behind her, the boys sit on the blanket in the garden. Oscar's hand is outstretched, palm grazing the edge of the grass. Oliver hums again softly, but with intention. Danvers stands a few feet away, watching. Arms crossed, not out of distance, but wonder. "They're waking up," he whispers. Lucy nods. So is the tree. Later that day, she tells him. The fig tree is in their birth pictures. Danvers blinks. "I didn't know that. Your wife took them here," she says. "Under this same tree, one in each arm," she wrote on the back. "Under the tree that teaches them to reach." Danvers exhales slowly. His hands curl. Then he turns, walks back to the house, returns with a photo frame. Worn, wooden, a bit chipped at the edges. Inside, the photo. The twins, wrapped in a single blanket. His wife holding them, smiling. The fig tree behind her in full bloom. He places it by the base of the tree. Lucy watches him. He whispers, "I forgot this existed." That night, Danvers enters the nursery holding something new. An old cassette player. He sets it down, presses play. The room fills with the faint crackle of a tape starting. Then, her voice. Sarah, singing. Not to anyone in particular, just singing. A lullaby, halfway through. Then her laugh. The twins blink rapidly. Oscar's eyes water. Oliver curls into Lucy's lap. Danvers sits on the edge of the crib, head bowed. "She recorded this the day before the accident," he says. Lucy puts her hand over his. "Thank you for letting them hear her." Danvers shakes his head. "No, thank you for letting me hear them." In the days that follow, the house enters a kind of gentle rhythm. Mornings in the garden, afternoons in the nursery, evenings with the tape. Each time Sarah's voice plays, Oliver hums along. Oscar follows with his own rhythm, blinking in sync. Lucy calls it their language of breath. Danvers starts learning it. 1 blink equals yes. 2 blinks equals no. 3 equals more. He adds it to a chart in his notebook. Page after page, filled now. Not with data, with witnessing. One day, Lucy finds Oscar with his hand resting on the notebook. It's open to a blank page. He blinks once, then again, then lifts his hand and taps the page. Danvers kneels beside him. "You want something here?" he asks. Oscar blinks once. Danvers picks up the pen. "What should I write?" Oscar doesn't answer, but Oliver, across the blanket, hums twice. Lucy smiles. They want to write it together. Danvers sets the pen down, watches, and in the next moment, both boys reach. Oscar grips the pen, weakly. Oliver stabilizes the notebook. Together, with Lucy's help, they draw a crooked heart. Danvers stares at it like a sacred relic. Later that night, Lucy writes in her own notebook, "Today, the boys wrote their first word. It wasn't letters. It was a heart. But what else is a word for family, if not that?" She closes the book, but leaves it on the table, uncovered, as if inviting the house to read it. Danvers, unable to sleep, walks past the nursery, sees the soft glow of moonlight through the window, sees the notebook. He walks in. Oscar is asleep. Oliver stirs, then calms. Danvers sits, opens Lucy's notebook, flips through the older pages, finds one he hasn't seen before. A prayer. "Dear God, if healing is too much to ask for, let presence be enough. Let silence hold. Let breath mean belonging. Let this house become a home again. Let me be small enough to listen, and strong enough to stay." Danvers closes the notebook, whispers, "You stayed." Then, for the first time in years, he prays. Not with words, with tears. The fig tree grows another bud. Lucy ties a ribbon to it, not to mark ownership, but remembrance. 3 buds, she whispers. 3 children. Danvers looks at her, puzzled. She smiles. You were a child once too." He looks away, then laughs quietly. "Don't remind me." She tilts her head. The house remembers. He stares at the tree. "Maybe it's time I did too." The next morning, Lucy finds the twins in the nursery before she even arrives. Danvers is with them. He's opened the curtains. Oscar is blinking at the sunlight. Oliver is humming along to the birds. Danvers looks up, nods. We started early. Lucy smiles. You're learning their rhythm. He replies softly, I'm remembering it. There is a moment just before the wind changes. It happens at dusk, when the light slips between the branches of the fig tree and the house holds its breath. Danvers stands at the window, watching the leaves move. He feels it coming. Not a storm, a shift. Inside the nursery, Lucy lights a candle. Only one. She doesn't speak. She just sits between the boys and waits. Oscar blinks in a slow rhythm. Oliver hums. Together, they form a kind of music no one else hears except maybe her. The notebook is open again, but tonight, she doesn't write. She listens. Danvers joins them after a while. He no longer knocks. Lucy looks up as he enters, says nothing, but her face softens. He kneels beside Oliver, brushes a hand lightly through his son's hair. Then he says it, the thing he's been holding inside for years. I don't remember their first cry. Lucy tilts her head. Danvers keeps going. I wasn't there. I was in the corridor on a call. When Sarah came out, she handed them to me and said, they're louder than you think. I smiled, took a photo. Then I went back to work. His voice tightens. They cried. I missed it. I missed their beginning. Lucy is quiet for a long time. Then she says, they're not crying now, but they're still beginning. Danvers looks at the boys. Oscar is watching him, not blinking, not humming, just looking. Then the boy blinks once. Deliberate. Danvers blinks back. And suddenly, the silence between them isn't empty. It's full. Later, Danvers finds the old photo again, the one by the fig tree. He holds it in both hands, kneels under the branches. The 3 buds have opened now, wide and green and soft. He whispers, thank you. He's not sure who he's speaking to. Sarah, the boys, the tree, God, maybe all of them. That evening, Lucy brings something new into the nursery. Not a toy, not a tool, a frame. Inside it, a sheet of music, handwritten, titled simply, Sarah's Lullaby. Danvers stares at it. Where did you? Lucy smiles. I copied it from the cassette. She places it on the dresser beside the boys. Even when a voice is gone, she says, the song remains. Danvers nods, then whispers, they deserve to know her. Lucy looks at him. They already do, through you, through what you're becoming. Danvers covers his face with one hand. I wish she could see this. Lucy touches his arm lightly. She is. The breakthrough comes not with warning, but with wind. A soft gust sweeps through the nursery window. Oliver sits up by himself, not fully, but unassisted. Lucy gasps, but doesn't rush. Oscar reaches toward his brother. Danvers watches, frozen. Oliver turns toward Lucy and says it. Mama, clear, loud, direct. The sound stuns the room. Lucy covers her mouth, tears spilling instantly. Oscar laughs, a full laugh. Danvers falls to his knees. He crawls forward, cups Oliver's face in both hands. And, for the first time in his life, Danvers Whitmore says to his son, I see you. Oliver leans into him, closes his eyes, and breathes. The next morning, Lucy doesn't go to the nursery. She finds herself standing under the fig tree, alone. The air is crisp. The buds are now fruit. Small, full, dark. She smiles, whispers, it's time, and walks back into the house. Danvers is waiting in the hallway. I thought you'd be with them. Lucy shakes her head. They need you today. Danvers nods slowly. No hesitation. He enters the nursery. The twins are awake, sitting together. No blanket today, no hums. They're just present. Danvers kneels, places his hands on theirs. Then, for the first time, good morning, my boys. Oscar blinks once. Oliver smiles. And Danvers, through tears, laughs softly. I've been gone a long time. He places their hands on his chest. But I'm here now. Outside, the wind carries the sound of birdsong through the fig tree. Inside, the house no longer watches from the walls. It breathes again. It belongs again. It lives again. Because the silence has broken, and in its place, family. Lucy finds it on a quiet morning. The drawer wasn't locked, just forgotten. Tucked beneath an old set of keys and a sealed envelope yellowed by time is a folded letter with her name written on it in careful cursive. Lucy. To be read only when they speak. It's Sarah's handwriting. Lucy stands still for a long time. Her heart knows what this is. She doesn't open it right away. She places it in her notebook and walks to the nursery. The boys are by the window. Oscar is sitting upright now, supported by pillows. Oliver holds a toy between his palms, not just holding it, but gripping. Danvers sits on the floor beside them, unshaven, wearing an old t-shirt. His eyes look lighter, brighter. "You're early," Lucy says softly. Danvers smiles. "They were awake before me." Lucy kneels beside them. Oscar blinks once, then again. Oliver hums. A simple tune, no words, just the rhythm of recognition. Lucy watches them for a moment, then says, almost to herself, "They're not recovering, they're becoming." Danvers nods, voice rough. "I used to want them to get back to something. Now I just want to go forward with them." He looks at her. "What changed you?" Lucy breathes in, then says, "A letter." They sit in the sunroom while the boys nap. Lucy lays the folded note on the table between them. Danvers stares at it. His fingers twitch, but he doesn't reach. "You knew her voice," he says. Lucy nods. "Before I ever entered this house." Danvers looks up. "How?" Lucy looks down at her hands. "I was the nurse on Sarah's final night." Silence falls like a hush over the room. Danvers doesn't breathe for a moment. She never told me. "She didn't know my name," Lucy says gently. "I was float staff. They pulled me in for an overnight shift when her assigned nurse fell ill." Danvers swallows hard. She was peaceful?" Lucy smiles. "Very." Tears well in his eyes. Lucy continues. "She said she wasn't afraid of dying, just afraid the boys wouldn't feel seen." Danvers closes his eyes. "I failed her." Lucy shakes her head. "No, you grieved her. That's different." Danvers opens the letter. The handwriting is soft, slanted. "My dear Lucy, if you're reading this, they've found their voice. That means God has kept his promise, and so have you. Thank you for being the kind of woman who listens to silence, who holds children like prayers. I don't know your face, but I know your spirit. I saw it in the way you touched my hand when I was fading. I saw it in the way you smoothed my hair and didn't rush. I asked God to send someone who wouldn't fix my boys but would see them. He sent you. Please tell Danvers. It wasn't his fault. He loved me well. He just didn't know how to love the world without me. And tell my boys, their mama is still singing. Always. Just quieter now, but still singing. With all I have left. Sarah." Danvers weeps. Not like before. This time, it's a release. The undoing of guilt. The letting go of punishment. Lucy places her hand over his. They sit in silence. But it's not heavy. It's sacred. That night, Danvers reads to his sons. First time ever. Not out loud, he whispers. One line at a time. Oscar blinks in rhythm. Oliver hums between phrases. Lucy sits nearby, smiling, watching them become a story together. The next morning, Danvers brings out a frame. Inside it, the letter. He places it in the hallway outside the nursery. Not for decoration, for memory. Lucy passes it on her way in, touches the glass. "Still singing," she whispers. Later that afternoon, Danvers finds Lucy in the garden. She's not singing, not writing, just sitting under the fig tree, eyes closed, face tilted to the sun. He sits beside her, clears his throat. "I've been thinking." She waits. "If you wanted to leave now," he says, "I would understand." Lucy opens her eyes slowly, looks at him. "Do you want me to?" Danvers shakes his head, voice cracking. "No." Lucy turns fully toward him. "They don't either." Danvers nods. "I know." She places her hand on his. "Then I'll stay." A long pause. Then Danvers says something almost too quiet to hear. "Will you stay for us?" Lucy blinks, then whispers, "Yes." The fig tree now holds 5 fruits. The gardener says it's a sign of blessing. Lucy says it's just a reminder. When something grows through grief, it tastes sweeter. It begins with breath. In, out. 2 small chests rising beneath a soft blanket. 2 hands gently curled around one another. Oscar. Oliver. Sleeping. Peacefully. Danvers sits beside their beds, the candlelight flickering across his tired face. He's not watching anymore. He's being. No monitors, no data, no tapes, just presence. Lucy enters without knocking. She kneels beside him. He doesn't look at her right away. Just says softly, "I used to fear silence. I thought it meant failure. Now, I think it means peace." Lucy smiles, brushing a curl from Oscar's forehead. It means they feel safe. Danvers finally looks at her. Eyes full, voice steady. "You gave them that." Lucy shakes her head. "No, we did. The fig tree is heavy with fruit now, full and round, bending its own limbs." Lucy picks 3 figs and wraps them in a soft cloth. She places them on the nursery table beside the notebook, the one she's written in for nearly a year. Danvers sees her do it. "What are those for?" Lucy smiles. "The harvest. In the afternoon, the house gathers. All of it. Every part." Danvers opens every window. The staff step in quietly, nurses, cleaners, cooks, the gardener. No one is dressed for ceremony, but something about the moment feels sacred. Lucy sits in the center of the nursery. The twins sit in her lap. Danvers beside them. He opens his notebook, reads the first line he ever wrote. "Day 142 of Lucy's arrival," Oliver said, "Mama." He turns the page, reads another. "Day 153. Oscar laughed. I cried. More pages, more moments. Then Lucy speaks. They remember more than we think. She holds up the boy's hands. Oscar blinks once. Oliver hums twice. Together, they raise their arms. And in a moment that feels impossibly light, Oscar says it. Clear, calm. "Papa." Danvers drops the notebook. His heart nearly stops. Lucy covers her mouth. Oscar says it again. "Papa." Then Oliver repeats. "Papa." And that's when the house sings. Not with voices, with breath, with wind, with trees outside pressing leaves to glass, with candlelight, with old wooden floors creaking as if in approval. Danvers is still kneeling, hands shaking, tears streaming. Lucy places her hand on his back, and the boys, for the first time, lean into him. Both, a full embrace. Danvers weeps, but doesn't break. He is held now, not just by them, by this moment, by all of it. Later, Lucy finds him in the hallway. He's holding Sarah's old scarf, the one she always wore in the garden. He looks at Lucy and says, quietly, "She would have loved you." Lucy responds, tears in her eyes, "She loves them through you." Danvers nods, then reaches into his pocket, hands her a small black key. "What's this?" she asks. He clears his throat. "East Wing. There's a room that was meant to be a music room. Sarah always wanted one." Lucy holds the key. He adds, "I thought, maybe the boys could learn sound there, touch piano keys, feel the vibrations." Lucy's voice cracks. "You're building them a voice." He shakes his head, eyes shining. "No, they already had it. I just never learned how to listen." Weeks pass. Then months. Seasons shift. The fig tree becomes a sanctuary, a gathering place. The boys crawl now, slowly, clumsily, but freely. They make sounds, half-formed words, whispers, giggles. Lucy sings less, not because the songs have stopped, because they are singing now. Danvers reads aloud every night. Sometimes he forgets the ending of the stories, because the twins' reactions steal his attention. Sometimes he reads without a book at all, just words he remembers. Stories about clouds and wind and old lullabies. Stories that feel like family. One day, Lucy packs a bag. Danvers finds her in the hallway. He stiffens. "Are you?" She shakes her head. "Just visiting my sister. Back in the village." He exhales. "Right." She zips the bag slowly. Danvers looks down at his hands. "I thought maybe you were leaving for good." Lucy tilts her head. "Do you want me to?" He steps closer. "Lucy, this house has roots now, and they started with you." She touches his hand. "I'll come back." He looks her in the eye. "I'll be here." She smiles, then whispers, "You finally are." That night, he puts the boys to bed himself. No help. He tucks the blankets gently around them, whispers a lullaby, his wife's, still imperfect, still shaky. Oscar blinks once. Oliver hums. Then they sleep, and Danvers sits beside them. Notebook open. He writes, Day 365. Lucy went to visit her family. I tucked the boys in tonight, they said, Papa. Then they breathed. Then they slept. And I finally understand what my wife meant. This house was never about money. It was always about listening, about holding silence gently until it sang.